Hello and welcome to the first edition of Rettig Music Driving with the Director. This is something that hopefully we can do on occasion with some amazing music educators across Ohio. Hopefully this is going to be something that's going to be really cool and really informative and also a little fun. So I'm really excited that the first guest that we're going to have, I'm going to go pick up here in a second, is Mr. Jason Graham from Grove City High School. And they have been chosen to perform next Friday at the OMEA Professional Conference, which is a very exciting thing for them, I'm sure. So I'm excited to kind of pick his brain a little bit and see what's going on in their program and the whole process and how that worked out, and just kind of see what he has to say. Come on in.
How's it going, man?
Dude, thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
This will be fun.
Yeah, this will be something.
Yeah, it definitely will. I love it.
Man.
Yeah, this is funny. What were you up to this morning?
Had a meeting with the program printer.
Oh.
Finalizing all that stuff.
Trying to get all that. Well, that's going to be a quick print job.
Well, they're starting it today. So today was kind of the final meet and greet. Jonathan came with me and we just went over a couple changes and moving some things around. And then there were 2 extra pages, so we had to figure out how to deal with that, because there has to be an even number or divisible by 4, so it all folds the right way. That's all good.
A printer here in Grove City?
Yeah, down on 665 Right Graphics.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I wanted to use someone in town that we could get to easily and talk to him about it. It's been great. It looks really nice. They did a great job.
Yeah, I saw something on Facebook. The cover looks
that's not even the cover.
Oh,
that's the inside. Like, the actual cover wasn't on there yet because that's a special order.
Oh,
so we're doing like a real thick blue stock with a silver foil lettering of the names of the ensembles on the actual cover, and then you'll open it up to that color with the shield and everything.
Oh, right. Okay.
So yeah, it's going to look really nice.
That's cool.
Excited about that.
So let's talk about next Friday, the program. I'm curious, what's your program? What are you guys playing? How did you come about picking these? Is it stuff that you've always loved and always wanted to play, or
a little combination of both. When it comes to programming, especially for an event like this, I think it's really important to make sure that the audience is going to have a good time with what you're doing.
Yes.
Not it's balance, right? You don't want to program all heavy stuff. You don't want to program all light stuff. It needs to be a nice blend. But I always try and keep the audience in mind. What would they want to hear?
Sure.
What would they appreciate hearing? And then couple that with what can my kids do well? Where my which sections are really strong right now that I should feature in my programming.
Oh, right.
And think about those types of elements so that it all kind of works together. And so that's kind of just how I start the process. And I don't know about anybody else, but for me it takes me a very long time to settle on a program. Especially something like this where it's 7 tunes in an hour. Just thinking about all the elements. I mean, it took me probably a good month and a half to really actually feel confident that we're playing the right music.
Oh, I'm sure, and it's not like next Friday at 9:30, right? You guys play at 9:30.
Yeah.
It's not like next Friday at 9:30 you're playing for mom and dad.
No.
It's a pretty captive
discerning audience. But I told the kids too that it's also the most appreciative audience they're ever going to play for. These are all music educators. We all want our students to be successful. Every moment that they get up and do something, whether it's solo ensemble or large group, we just want them to do it and do it well and enjoy it. So when a band gets up there and starts to play and it's really working well together, we all are even more appreciative than the average listener, because we all understand what it takes to get to that point.
Absolutely.
With our students. So we're all hoping for the best, right? It's a very supportive audience, while at the same time being very I hate to use the word critical, but
that was going to be my next question, the amount of pressure,
right?
With I'm sure there's a handful of educators that you love and respect that are going to be there that you're thinking,
this needs to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's certainly, we've all felt that pressure in this process. So that, the literature we're doing, to answer your question, is we're opening with Festive Overture, the Hunsberger arrangement. Oh. And that's a lot in and of itself right there. But I've always wanted to do that piece. One of my favorite, orchestral works, and the transcription is really good.
Yeah.
Originally when I thought about doing it, doing it in B flat was an idea, because there are some B flat arrangements out there. The Art Marine Band's one of them, and I kind of really like the sound of it up in that key.
Yeah.
And to some degree, I think it helps with the fingers, because we all know B flat so well.
Yep.
And the Hunsberger's in A flat. But the problem was the B flat versions I found took a lot of the virtuosity out of the euphonium section, and I've got 3 all-state euphonium players right now. So the Hunsberger has just rip-roaring stuff in it, but they can do it. So I ended up going with that addition, and that's been great. The second tune is probably one that nobody or very few people have even heard of, called "The World Is Waiting for the Sunrise." It's from the 20s. The melody's from the 20s, the pop tune.
Oh, no kidding.
But Harry Alford took it and turned it into a concert march. And
it's a march.
Yeah, it's a march.
No kidding.
But it's a really goofy march. I mean, it's very non-traditional. Starts off, in a minor key, low brass kind of featured, and then it goes into this really nice trio in D flat, and it starts in C minor. So even right away where things are strange.
Right. And
then the dogfight happens, and then there's this stop time section where the euphoniums just have like a fistful of notes. It's basically euphonium featured for like 16 bars. So again, that was kind of why I programmed that piece, was I wanted something that the euphoniums could be featured.
Sure.
And 4 years ago, when George took the band there, his last year, they did Melody Shop, because he had a ripping euphonium section.
Yep, and they were smoking.
Right, and I didn't want to do the same thing 4 years later, so I wanted to do a different piece, and actually Dr. Paul Drosty kind of found this for us and knew about it, being the euphonium player that he is.
Absolutely.
And so he got the music from Ohio State, we read it, I was like, yeah, this is going to be great. So that'll be the second tune. So we get 2 really kind of featurey tunes right off the bat.
Yeah.
Get everyone's heart racing, and real exciting. And then the third tune takes a departure and is John Mackey's "This Cruel Moon," which is just a beautiful ballad.
Love that piece.
Yeah, and it's the arrangement of his second movement of Wine Dark Sea. So Ohio State's actually playing that at the very next concert. So you can hear our band play the arrangement, and then they'll play the real thing in the next program, which is pretty neat. That ended up working out.
Is he coming at all?
I invited him, and in fact, I even was texting him on Snapchat last night, trying to convince him.
You're like, come on, dude.
I took a picture of the program and I circled it. I'm like, you need to be here. But I saw him at Midwest, and he's already has a commitment booked somewhere else.
He's probably booked for 2 years.
But he said, I'm from Columbus. My family lives in Westerville. I love to get back, so I'm trying to say, just skip whatever you have to do and come hear us, because you can hear your symphony and this Cruel Moon back to back.
Back to back. Yeah, he can't do that at any other professional development.
We'll see if he shows up. I'm not holding my breath, but he knows about it, which I thought was cool.
That's awesome.
So after that, it's kind of the first 3, and then Greg's going to come out and do Clifton Williams Symphonic Dance No. 3 Fiesta, which is just a lot of fun.
Yep.
And it's just, kids are doing great on that. Walt's going to come out after that and do Forever Shining, which is a piece by Jim Swearingen. Yeah. And part of this whole, and Jim, by the way, George Edge is presiding for the concert. So it's kind of an all in the family type thing.
Sure.
With George presiding, playing a piece by Jim, the old and the new, it kind of is how it all fuses together. It's a great piece. I really didn't know that piece too well.
I was going to say, that's not a piece that you hear people program, but it's a great piece.
But it's awesome. It's really, really great, and we're loving working on it. So excited to kind of just get that out to the the OMEA, and hopefully other bands hear that and go, that we could do that. That's a great piece. It's like grade 3.5, grade 4, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
nice piece. And then after that, I'm going to come back out, and kind of the big feature is called Adventures on Earth. It's an E.T. transcription from the movie. And basically, what Paul Lavender did, who transcribed it, was took the music from the last 10 minutes of E.T. and just transcribed it for bands. I mean, it's pretty much straight out of the orchestral score that they use on the soundstage, and he just made it work for band. And he's been doing that along with John Moss, Stephen Bola, and Jay Bocook. All 4 of them have an arrangement or a transcription of one of John Williams's famous pieces, and it's all in a series called the Hal Leonard Professional Concert Band Series. And it's just his music, just Williams's music. but all the transcriptions are, you know, very true to the original. So it's fun to pull that out and say, hey kids, this is really no different than what the musicians in Los Angeles saw.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And to capitalize on that, we're also doing it with live video. So we're timing it up with the scenes in E.T. that music was written for.
Oh,
so in the
very
audience,
cool.
you're going to be watching the last 10 minutes of E.T. while we play the soundtrack.
That's awesome.
So that's going to be a lot of fun.
You don't see that a whole lot.
No.
Like in conventions.
No.
That is so cool.
And I thought it'd be something unique and different.
Yeah.
I got the idea actually from Midwest 3 or 4 years ago when one of the service bands, I can't remember who it was, I want to say it was the Army Band. They were there a few years ago and they played the soundtrack to the old Disney cartoon where Mickey Mouse gets up on the gazebo and is conducting the band, and the tornado shows up.
Yep.
So they did that, and I was like, wow, that is so cool. I'd love to do something like that. And it was actually that year we were playing the E.T. piece. I pulled it out at the end of, like, you know, we had 9 days before the spring concert after state contest, and it was ridiculously way too hard for 9 days. But I was like, whatever, let's just do it.
Jump in. Yep.
Like this, we shouldn't be able to do this, but let's just see how far we can get in 9 days. And they did an awesome job. I mean, kudos to that band of 2 years ago. They really worked hard. But I went and watched E.T. that weekend, like right before the spring concert, and I went, oh man, like literally, this is the last 10 minutes of the movie. So I thought, well,
so it's an exact transcription,
more or less. I mean, I had to make some adjustments, you know, because of tempos. Like,
sure.
So I pulled the movie out and I just worked on editing it out so that it all timed up right, and it just kind of wung it a couple years ago, and it ended up working great. So when it came time for convention programming, I thought, you know, we only had 9 days on that piece. Wasn't nearly enough to make the music that it deserves.
Right.
And, you know, most of the band wasn't even in this group when we did that. You know, a handful of students are, but they were all playing a different part.
Right.
So let's pull this back out and actually spend time on it. And make it great. So that'll be a lot of fun to finish that off and unique. And then, you know, Stars and Stripes, complete with 5 piccolos on the solo. And,
oh, no kidding.
And brass standing at the end. So yeah, it's just going to be a lot of fun. And that was the point. I wanted to make it fun for the audience, exciting, energetic. You know, I think every piece has got something to like and enjoy about it.
Sure. Next Friday, fast forward past this weekend, what performances are you putting together in the next 4 or 5 days to get ready for this? Because I'm sure endurance is probably part of a program that's pretty beefy like that. So how are you getting them?
Endurance is probably my number one concern.
Yeah.
Because this is very heavy. I mean, no doubt about it. Festive Overture is a killer. The World is Waiting on the euphoniums is just very hard. And then, you know, the Fiesta and the Clifton Williams is no slouch on the brass, especially. It's a lot of going on there.
Yep.
And then E.T., again, no holding back on that. John Williams brass music. I mean, it's just nuts. So yes, very concerned about if the chops can make it through this performance. So I've done, over the course of preparing, doing several runs of the program so they understand what it feels like.
Yeah.
Certain rehearsals that, you know, were an hour and a half to 2 hours. And, you know, some of those we played all the rep in, you know, about a 2 hour period. We played it and rehearsed it. So that's a heck of a lot
of playing.
And, you know, by the time, though, you know, even a week ago, we finished up and got through the entire program rehearsing and playing, and they're doing it. I mean, yes, there's fatigue, but that's fatigue after rehearsing and playing. So, you know, I think we're at this point now where if we just do the performance and that's all we're focusing on, it's there.
Yeah,
you know, it's there. And, you know, certainly the adrenaline and the excitement of performing will help us. It always does, as it does everybody. But we've got a performance coming up at Capitol on Monday, the 5th, kind of as our preview. Jackson's going to be there too. That'll be a really good, just kind of get the cobwebs out, do it once.
Absolutely.
Make sure the video for ET works and everything else.
Yeah.
And
technology.
Yeah, and then we have basically, you know, we'll come back. We'll have Tuesday, Wednesday to adjust any small little issues, and that's it. Because then I have, you know, 9 kids who go to all-state band on Wednesday afternoon.
Oh, yeah, all that's happening at the same time.
Thursday, really, I can't rehearse because almost all of my section leaders are gone. And, you know, we just can't do anything on that day. So that's going to be a day off. You know, we'll just talk. Maybe we'll watch a little ET. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something, you know, and then just get their minds in the right place, and then Friday morning make it happen.
Well, I wonder how many kids in that program. You know, I'm not sure. My son's a senior. I don't know if he's seen ET. Like,
honestly, not that many have. I asked I think a week or two ago, I said, how many have you seen this? And I think like 15 hands were in the air.
Right.
Because, that's from the 80s.
Oh.
That's from my childhood.
Yeah, that's my childhood. Yeah, absolutely.
So to them, I don't know what they would think of it if some of them saw it. I'm sure they would think some of the effects were kind of lame.
Right. It's definitely
but
old
what they don't understand is, for the 80s, that was pretty amazing stuff. From an effects standpoint.
Absolutely. How many kids in the symphonic band are taking private lessons?
Out of the symphonic band, all of them at some point have taken private lessons.
Okay.
Some of them, when they get into their senior year, life takes over.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Life after high school starts to seep in. So not all of them continue all the way through, which I'm okay with.
Yeah.
I mean, you've put in your time, you've put in your effort. You are nailing it. You're getting a 1 on the Class A solo. You sound great. You're doing enough. You're doing more than enough for us to have a great high school band and not have to worry about anything else.
Right.
So is it everybody? No. But at one point, was it everybody? Yes. And so right now, I'd say out of 75 kids, probably 60 to 65 are involved in private lessons.
Okay, so it's not like a requirement. Like for you to be in the top band, you have to take private lessons.
No, and my philosophy there is, at a high school, I don't know that is the right philosophy to say that you have, because now you're telling a parent, if you want your kid to be in this class, you've got to pay this much money for a private lesson, and some people just can't do that.
Right.
So not in our community.
Exactly. Nope.
And that shouldn't disqualify them if they have put in the time and effort and have gotten good through other means, that they haven't earned their right to be in the top band. They have.
Sure.
So yes, I promote it, of course. We talk about it all the time because
absolutely.
Anyone who does this profession knows that is critical if you want to work on some of that upper level literature. You can't waste your time dealing with technical problems.
Right. Exactly.
And this preparation process I was very adamant about that. It was, here's all the music. It's December 8th. You need to have it all pretty much on your fingers, technically proficient by January 8th. And I gave them a deadline and said, this is the day this has to be done, because we can't get what we need done if we're dealing with your finger problems or your articulation.
At that point you have to rehearse and not practice, for that.
Right.
Do you ever have the opportunity to bring, Paul Drosty or somebody like that in during the school day to do small sectionals? Is that something the administration supports?
Totally. When we did it this year, Carolyn Rettig from Ohio State came in and did a low clarinet sectional during one of the band periods. And I just, for that period, clarinets you on stage, the rest of us will work on something else.
Right.
So that opportunity does exist, which is very nice.
So, last little part of this. Two-part question. First thing is, after next Friday, what's your focus? I assume district large group, right?
Yeah, district's the next thing. It's 4 weeks after convention, and we haven't done a thing for that at this point.
Right.
Which is fine though. The kids are at this point, they're already playing at a kind of a state level.
Right. Now, are you going to use any of the pieces you're doing?
I might. We'll see. Once I can bring my head out of the clouds to look at some other literature for that group. Those kids just like to play, and so repeating too much stuff, they get bored, and the performance falls kind of just flat. So I don't want that to happen, because it is a month later. That's a long time to keep on a piece that you already had down.
Yep.
So we'll see. I'm going to read some other stuff. We read Carmine Verona the other day when I had 20 kids out for a field trip.
Oh, right.
Because that's on the required list. So maybe that'll be an option. And we might read some other things and just kind of see what happens. But, at this point, they're going to be great no matter what. And if we have to pull a couple things from the OMEA set just to make everyone's life a little less stressful, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they've been putting in so much time, after school and sectionals and full band rehearsals to just augment and make sure we have enough time to be at our best.
Right.
Because, playing this early, we're just not used to that. Not used to having to play a major performance first week of February. So, as far as scheduling rehearsals, I looked at the calendar and just made sure I added basically two rehearsals per week for about 5 weeks. And by clock
after school?
Yeah, and by clock hours, if you look at that time, it's basically the exact same amount of rehearsal we would normally have for district contest. Because we're usually very good at district and prepared, so I figured as long as I have the same amount of time for OMEA that I would have for a district with this band, then I know we'll be okay. And that's and they're doing fine, so
that's good.
It all works out.
Are the kids getting excited? I mean, a week away. Like, is this something like, because all high school kids are excited about marching band.
Yeah,
they're excited about state marching band contest or playing at a high stadium or whatever it is. Like, are your kids like stoked for this?
I think we're just starting to get there. Like last week, the last couple days, some of the pieces really started just coming together well, and they hear it, and they're getting excited now. And now that it's closer, yes, the definitely the energy in the room is increasing, and certainly next week when we do the show on Capitol, that's going to excite them because they get a chance to finally perform what they've been working on now for 2.5 months. And we need that applause therapy, I think, a little bit, because it
gets a little boring in that room after a while.
It gets tough, because we just keep working on these things in Festive Overture. We fell apart there, offbeats are rushing. Said that a few times. And they just need to go out and do it and get that audience feedback, because that will inspire them and that will get them more excited. And then when they get to OMEA, now we're really ready to go. Right.
Have you been listening to a ton of recordings of the stuff you're doing to try to, or are you kind of doing your own interpretation of?
You mean like a reference recording?
Yeah, like Festive Overture, like such an iconic piece. Like, have you listened to a lot of different performances of it, or are you kind of going, man, I've always wanted to like do this here?
I've with the big pieces like that, yes. I think I've listened to 3 or 4 different Festive runs. 2 of them orchestral, 2 of them the band. And just kind of hearing what other people do. The Marine Band recording is actually the one I sent to the students. Like, in the beginning of this process, I made a reference recording folder and said, students, listen to this a lot. This is what I believe to be the definitive recording of some of these pieces. We want to match this in a lot of ways. So the Marine Band recording is what I sent them, and they actually play it in B flat. So not to mess with their ears, I actually took the recording and put it down a whole step into A flat.
Oh, no kidding.
So when they would play it, because I didn't want to listen to it in B flat all the time and then come in and play it in A flat. It just, I wanted it to be the same.
Interesting, yeah.
So I sent that out to them, and but ever since we started, once we really got into it, I stopped listening so much, because then it was our rendition.
It's your
and and that we're definitely at that point now, and I'm sure most of the students aren't listening to the music anymore because they know how we do it. And a couple times I recorded the kids and I would send them, hey, don't send this to anyone else. Under penalty of whatever
social media.
This is private. This is for us in-house only, but you listen to this so you can hear where you're at, and then we'll continue on. And I always find that to be very helpful, like being able to play back a recording for the kids, because they never get to hear it from that perspective.
Without a doubt.
And so it does 2 things. Number one, it really energizes them on the spots they're doing well, and it really makes them think about the spots they're not. Because they hear how great it is, and then they go, oh, that section's not so great.
The recording doesn't lie most of the time.
No.
So last question. So 5 years from now, where's Grove City? Like, are you still here?
I mean, I think 5 years from now, who knows what we will have done in that time span. I always wanted to do something, as much as possible. I'm, looking ahead. What's the next thing? What's the next opportunity that these students deserve? Whether it's a concert band thing, whether it's a marching band thing. Our marching band takes a big trip every 4 years, so the Rose Parade was 2017. 2021 is going to be the next biggie. So starting to plan, what is that? Where is that? What are we going to do? Disney World is next year, so that's already kind of in the starts of a planning process, because we do that on the opposite every 4 years. So every 2 years we're taking a trip.
The kids are somewhere. Gotcha.
And then of course on top of that, things like convention or Midwest, other opportunities that exist out there will drop in along the way. So who knows? 5 years from now, I assume the marching band will have done 2 or 3 things, probably the concert bands as well, and we want to continue just growing the program and think we can.